Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, Wooden Railway Adventures, Episode 210, Hatt Trick. It was a somber evening at the sheds. Thomas puffed in quietly and rolled into his berth. The shed door swung shut with a depressing thud. "This is terrible," remarked Percy. "I've never seen Thomas so sad before."
"It's been a rough few days for him," murmured Gordon. "I think it's best that we leave him be for now."
"Do you think Sir Topham Hatt will take away his branch line?" asked Henry. "Certainly not," protested Toby. "Thomas has made a few mistakes, but what engine doesn't once in a while?" "But those two accidents he caused were quite serious," said Oliver. "If another, less popular engine had done the same thing, would they even be on the railway right now?"
"Yes, remember what happened to Logan," added Edward.
"Sir Topham Hatt didn't hesitate at sending him away following that mess." "But Thomas is different," protested Percy. "He's the #1 engine, and he's my friend." "No engine should be immune to their misbehaviors, regardless of their status on the railway," said Duck. "It will be interesting to see what Sir Topham Hatt does this time." "Boy, the sheds just aren't the same without James and Stanley here," added Henry. "I just wish everything would go back to normal." Inside his berth, Thomas could hear the engines talking outside. He let out a deep breath, shut his eyes tight, and tried to get some sleep. The next morning, the engines were awakened bright and early by Murdoch's whistle. "There's going to be a big announcement at Knapford Station soon," he said. "Sir Topham Hatt has asked all of the engines to be there." "What could this be about?" asked Rosie. "Maybe Sir Topham Hatt has found the man that caused James's crash," said Edward.
"Hopefully it's an update on Stanley," added Duck.
"Let's get going then," said Gordon.
"That includes you too, Thomas. You can't miss this important meeting."
Reluctantly, Thomas puffed out of the sheds with the rest of the engines. At the yard, everyone had gathered for the big announcement, and Sir Topham Hatt and Mr. Percival were waiting.
"Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. I have a very important announcement that I thought about for quite some time, and I believe today is the right time to share it."
The engines looked nervously at each other.
If you visited the mainland recently, you've undoubtedly heard a rumor regarding something called the Great Railway Show. I took some of my engines to that very same event many years ago, and we all had a splendid time. Well, that rumor is true. There is going to be a great railway show soon, and I am going to enter some of my engines into the festivities.
The engines were ecstatic. They couldn't believe what they were hearing.
However, there is another part of the show that I must also address. I have been chosen as a judge for the Great Railway Show, and I have accepted that offer. Along with some fellow controllers from other railways, we will be part of the team that ranks the engines in their competitions and hands out the awards at the end. Having said that, I will not be able to be the director of the Northwestern Railway and a judge at the railway show at the same time. The show requires a lot of time and dedication, and I wouldn't be able to juggle all of my responsibilities. Therefore, I've selected Mr. Percival here to fill in for me until the show comes to its conclusion."
"Oh, wow," said Edward. "Congratulations, Mr. Percival." "Thank you all," he replied. "I have a very big suit to fill, big shoes to fill, but I will do my best."
"And remember, this is only a temporary arrangement. Once the show is over, I will return as the full-time controller, and Mr. Percival will go back to the Skarloey Railway. I'm guessing some of you have questions, but those must be put on hold for a moment, as I need to go to the steamworks and check on Stanley. Goodbye, everyone."
And Sir Topham Hatt climbed into Winston and drove away. The engines were excited at the prospect of being a part of the great railway show. "What a marvelous idea," said Henry. This should surely brighten everyone's spirits. But Thomas was still sad. It seemed as though nothing could cheer him up at the moment. Meanwhile, Sir Topham Hatt had arrived at the steamworks. Victor, Kevin, and all of the workmen were busy working on Stanley. "How are things going? Do you know how much time this is going to take?" "It's going to be a very long process," said Victor. "Essentially, Stanley's entire front end has been flattened, and we'll need to completely rebuild it." "Bother! I was hoping Stanley could compete in the shunting event at the Great Railway Show, but it doesn't appear that will happen. Well then, carry on, I suppose. I have to go investigate some problems by Gordon's Hill now." And Sir Topham Hatt drove away. Outside of the steamworks, Ryan was listening to the conversation. He had followed Sir Topham Hatt and Winston down from the yard. "George," came a voice, "are you here yet? You're running late, you big green—" "Oh, you're not George." "No, I'm Ryan. Are you looking for George the steamroller? I haven't seen him around."
"Oh, well, thanks for that. I suppose I should be on my way now."
"Hey, I know who you are. There are a lot of engines and people looking for you right now."
Yes. Do me a favor and pretend you never saw me, and we'll get on just fine."
"Don't worry, I'm not going to tell anyone. I don't care anyway." Sailor John looked peculiarly at the engine.
"You don't care? Well, something's obviously got you down. Why don't you give me the scoop while I'm waiting on George here?"
Ryan grew cross. "It's that Thomas engine," he said. "This whole railway is messed up. He causes 2 major accidents and doesn't even get in trouble with Sir Topham Hatt. He always gets away with whatever he wants because he's the #1 engine. Poor Stanley got his buffers shoved into his face, and all Thomas cared about was his silly coaches. You should have seen how he reacted."
"Wow, that is quite the story," said Sailor John. "Sounds like you're a bit mad at this Thomas fellow, I take it."
"Oh, I'm more than mad. I'm furious. And not just at Thomas, at everyone. At Sir Topham Hatt and the whole island. I'd do anything to get back at them for what they did to Stanley." Sailor John about fell off his feet.
"Now here's the engine I've been looking for all this time. I've got the perfect plan in place, but I need some assistance with the finishing touches. You help me, and I'll help you. What do you say?"
"Sounds fine to me," said Ryan indifferently. "I don't even want to be on this railway anymore, and this is the perfect time to leave. I'll help you out, but once this is done, I'm leaving Sodor for good."
"You've got yourself a deal," laughed Sailor John. "Well, we better get going. We've got no time to lose."
"Agreed," said Ryan quietly. "The clock is ticking on you, Thomas. You're finally about to understand that your actions have consequences. And I'm going to see to it that you'll remember this one for a very long time."